frustrated yearning since he could remember. Promises from lips that tremble, broken with a giggle. And I still think of you. I gave you what I thought you wanted. Under the orange tree, I made you into what I needed. Under the orange tree. But even now you missed my heart by inches.
It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt, and one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero. It's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, hope you're doing all right. We got a busy show scheduled for you today. But first, today's show is being brought to you in part by The Gentleman Boxer. It's a great read written by Ian Grumeza. It's the story of Joe Grimm and some other great bantamweight fighters of the 1920s. Grumeza does a great job bringing you back in time with the feels, the smells, the attitude, the whole 9 yards. Get yourself a copy of this book, man. You can get it where all good books are sold, including Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. You can also get it by visiting our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click on one of the Gentleman Boxer banners. Today's show is also being brought to you in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York, and their February 28th show, which features Mayweather Promotions card that will have Mickey Bay and J. Leon Love headlining that. It's also going to be on Showtime, so get yourself some tickets right now. If you've never been to an event at the Turning Stone, you're missing out. It's a four-season premier four-season resort. I love it there. It's one of my favorite casinos, and I'd like to see you there. So get yourself some tickets. Now, we don't have the fight poster up yet because this fight was just announced late last week, but you can visit the Turning Stone website, www.turningstone.com, to get to their ticket offers, and make sure you tell them Billy C sent you. And finally, today's show is being brought to you in part by the Titty Grab game. It's an adult break the ice game. That's guaranteed to get you something, get you a little something later on in the night. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Hey, what you do is visit the website, www.tittygrab.com, for all the information on the game. Coming up in a little bit, we got the heavyweight spotlight with my man James Curl, and he will be talking about the former world heavyweight champ Mike Weaver. And speaking of champions, I got to give a shout out, man, to one of my biggest fans. I mean, this guy loves the show. He's out in California. I just want to give a shout out to Art Barron, because Artie, I know you love the show, man, and I just wanted to say I thank you and I appreciate your support and everything. It's Art Barron, ladies and gentlemen. We got to give him a big shout out. So anyway, James Curl and I will be talking about former world heavyweight champ Mike Weaver coming up in a little bit. Also, tomorrow we got Adam Pollack coming on. Now, he's the author of a bunch of great books, but most recently the Jack Johnson Part 1, The Rise of Jack Johnson. So we'll be talking to him tomorrow. Emily Harney joins us tomorrow. Wednesday, we got the Blast from the Past. We are going to introduce you to a fighter I know you've never heard of, and I would find it very hard to believe that anyone has ever heard of this guy. And believe it or not, he was a former world champion, Emil Pladner, a former world flyweight champion. We'll teach you about this guy tomorrow. Thursday, my man Larry Hazard is scheduled to join us, as well as Dax Khan. And then Friday, as usual, we'll break down all the fights. And speaking of breaking down fights, we got a fight tonight, man. It's on one of Golden Boy's fights on Fox Sports, Fox 1 Sports. And we'll have our very own Austin Colleen ringside covering that fight in Texas. I will break down the main event. Fidel Maldonado Jr. is on that card, and I've gotten a chance to see him and call a couple of his fights in New Mexico. So I'm looking forward to seeing him progress his young professional career. So we'll break down the main event a little bit later on the show. We also have the fight results from the weekend. A big upset. I do not have the updated Billy C Challenge. We had already crowned a January champion. This past week, we kicked off February's challenge. There was only 5 fights, plus I effed up, so everybody got a W automatically on that. And most everyone did pretty well. So anyway, as usual, we got a couple of emails to get through. So I'll start with that right now. The Strongest Man. Streaming, it's very frustrating because their streaming sucks. These guys that are watching the show live are constantly complaining about the stream, and it wasn't always like that. It was pretty good, actually. We had abandoned a different stream, and we decided to upload the stuff on YouTube anyway. The whole issue is it's just a hassle. But then to make things worse, YouTube has their restrictions, so I can't even play some of the music we're allowed to play without jumping through hoops with YouTube. And the whole other issue about YouTube is that there's so many people that don't understand that this is a 2-hour show and that we're putting it up on YouTube so you guys can watch it. We get constant, messages. It's video's too long. Do this, do that. What's with the music? People are so stupid that they don't understand that it's a TV and radio show. So I appreciate that, Strongest Man. It was pretty cool to see 1,000 subscribers. I honestly don't know if that's good or bad or what. So, but we're glad that we hit 1,000. We were glad when we hit 250,000 views, and we've surpassed that. I think we're over 300,000 now. It's definitely growing on YouTube. Thanks for that. By the way, for all the YouTubers that might just be stumbling across this show right now, we're not a typical wannabe show. I mean, this is our 12th year. We're on television. We're on the radio. We have podcast, different podcast options for you. So, we've been around. And, by the way, we're the only daily 2-hour boxing talk show on the planet. So, Also, Strongest Man says Bob Arum is Manny's promoter. Manny isn't Floyd's dog. He shouldn't do everything Floyd asks him for. He has already agreed to more than enough of what Floyd's asking for. Listen, man, I'm so sick of this because the bottom line is this. Who cares? If they fight, they fight. I don't buy all of the Floyd propaganda. Oh, if he leaves Arum, if he does this, if he does that, and he does the other thing, then I'll do it. No. That's a pansy ass talking. So the bottom line is, Floyd. Listen, here's the bottom line. Floyd cares about his O. That's all he cares about. His focus right now is really on two things: to make as much money as he possibly can, and to keep his O intact as he finishes up his contract with Showtime. That's it. That's all he cares about. Now, if you look at a business perspective, and you like Floyd and you like to talk about business, then you know what? He's going to make you happy. If you're a diehard boxing fan and you value the historical parts of this sport, then you'll have a different opinion of the reasons why and everything else. Nobody and their brother will walk away from $100 million just because somebody's with somebody else. I mean, come on, man. Come on. So whoever believes that, I feel sorry for you. Quite honestly, I don't care one way or another. I'm looking forward to Manny Pacquiao's next fight. I can't wait to see Manny Pacquiao and Timothy Bradley in April. I could care less about Floyd Mayweather and Amir Khan. As a matter of fact, if I don't have to watch it, I won't. And the only reason why I have to watch it is because it's my job. I get paid to watch it. So nothing for nothing. But if you're complaining about the fight, it's simple. Don't buy it. If you don't like Floyd Mayweather against Amir Khan, don't buy it. Don't complain from now until May. All right? Don't complain because just don't buy the fight. And for the Strongest Man, as far as Manny Pacquiao, Floyd, don't count on it, man. Don't count on it. Just appreciate Manny Pacquiao, the type of fighter he is. Appreciate all your other fighters that you like and follow and all that happy stuff. Let Floyd do what he wants. He does what he wants. He's going to pick the easiest way to fulfill his Showtime obligation, and that's the end of that. So, we should really be focusing on other things, other fighters, other aspects of the game. And the Strongest Man says, by the way, Khan put Maidana down in the first round. People never mention that when they talk about the Khan fight. You said Floyd doesn't have power. If he can't knock Khan out, I think Khan is faster than him, so no one has outboxed Khan. I think Khan will be stronger at 147. One of the reasons why I wouldn't lean towards Khan winning is because Khan has a bad defense. Hopefully, Virgil Hunter will be able to help him with that. Khan has been in the gym for months now. I think Khan will put up a great fight. If I'm wrong, I'll admit it. But if Khan puts up a great fight, you'll have to admit you were wrong. If you want Floyd to look bad against a guy who has a bad reputation like Khan, you should want the Khan versus Floyd fight. That way you could laugh at Floyd's performance because, let's face it, you hate Floyd and I don't blame you. Khan has a better chance to beat Floyd than Maidana. Well, like I said, if you like the fight, buy it. I don't know what to tell you. Listen, I don't have anything against Amir Khan. I happen to like Amir Khan. My hang-up with that fight is simple. My hang-up with the fight is the fact that Floyd cherry-picked a guy who never even fought at 147. That's not discrediting Amir Khan's skill or anything like that. It's just Floyd picking, his advantages out again. And that's what bothers me the most about Floyd Mayweather. He's not a man, in my opinion, because a man will fight the best out there. Now, he's a good businessman, so if I put the word business in front of man, I got to give him credit. But anyway, hey, if you think the Khan fight against Floyd Mayweather is good, well, then he's going to be counting on your pay-per-view money, that's for sure. If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Roselli Enterprises. Roselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all. Dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flowboys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Roselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RoselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the ideal computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the number 15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IBO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the number 15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at IBOBoxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Glad you could join us. Hey, man, don't forget, we got a lot of stuff going on. Well, it's all starting in a couple of weeks. So do me a favor. One of our goals now, one of the things is we're doing not one but two live broadcasts during the International Boxing Hall of Fame induction weekend in June. And one's going to be at a sports bar. The other's going to be at Graziano's for a marathon. We're going to be there all day. So before we do that, well, first of all, for all the information about that, you got to email john@ldltv.com. Now, we will have a fight poster on that whole event up on BillyCBoxing.com, where you could just click it and get directed to an information page. But for now, do me a favor and email john@ldltv.com. Now, one of our goals for this event is to have 10,000 Twitter followers by the time we're up there. Now, I didn't get a chance to check where we're at right now. The last time I looked, we were a little under to agree with everything that I say or my opinions. That's what's so great about this sport, is that it's a subjective sport. You know, we don't all agree, and as long as we can disagree in a controlled fashion, I'm cool with it. With that said, Awesome83 says, Billy C., Bradley versus Pacquiao should be a great fight. Even though Bradley's a better boxer than Pacquiao, he won't hesitate to commit to brawling when pressed, and that might be his downfall. I agree with that. He says, to clarify my previous statement about Mayweather being the best, I meant he's clearly the best of his era. Floyd is a little guy that got tired of making weight at 135, so he moved up to 140, 147, and 154 and continued to win. all right, I'll comment on that. He says he still looks like a 140-pounder to me. Floyd's resume is solid with wins over Hernandez, Mosley, De La Hoya, Marquez, Cotto, Canelo, Castillo, Judah, Corrales, and many others. To discredit his resume would be discrediting all these former champions. Hopefully he will fight Pacquiao, but based on the politics of boxing, it's unfair to put all the blame on him for the fight not happening so far. He says, keep up the great work. First of all, I don't think that Floyd should be, and I'm not a fan, so I don't think Floyd should ever be criticized for being lazy. I criticize him for being lazy in a sense of just challenging himself, but not physically lazy, and he's certainly not lazy in the ring. I think that, his body grew. I don't think he got tired of making 135 pounds. I think he just couldn't make it anymore. I never claimed he was a monster guy, a big fighter, but he's clearly not a 140-pounder anymore. He's a welterweight. He's fought at 154 on his terms, even though it was a catch weight, when he said he wasn't going to ever do that. But it doesn't matter. My hang-up with Floyd is this. He says that he's the greatest of all time. In order to be the greatest of all time, or he doesn't use that term because Ali used it. He says he's the best ever. You got to do things that are not safe and planned and methodically picked and all of that stuff. You can't. If you want to be even considered one of the best ever, you got to fight outside the comfort zone. He's never done that. That's my hang up on him. As far as all the names, you're right. He's got some really good names under his resume. It's just the times in which he fought them that I have an issue with. But, when push comes to shove, that's the way a lot of people are going to look at it. They're just going to see the names. They're going to see the accomplishments of those fighters, and they're not going to remember that Floyd fought Mosley when he was 42 and De La Hoya when actually the De La Hoya fight you got to give him credit for, even though a lot of people think he might have lost that fight. He didn't fight Cotto when Cotto was an issue. He fought Canelo actually too soon, so he knows he's smart enough to know, when to fight the better guys later in their career and when to fight the good guys earlier in their career. So, hey, listen, as far as blaming, I think 90% of the blame is on Floyd because when push comes to shove, he's the guy that's got the deck of cards in his hands, and he's trying to make people believe that the only reason he's not fighting Manny is because of Bob Arum. If Bob Arum wasn't in the picture, I don't know if he would fight him anyway. I really don't think that Floyd is comfortable fighting Manny. There's something about Manny that scares Floyd in a way, and that's that. That's my opinion. Thanks for the email, Awesome83. L. Dude says, Billy, a few names that are being left out due to Floyd picking Khan and Bradley fighting Manny. As a boxing fan, how would you match up fighters like the Ghost and Broner and Maidana, Keith Thurman, Collazo, or Paulie, who is now ranked number 2 at the WBA. He says, by the way, I agree on Rios fighting Ruslan over Juan Manuel Marquez. I would like to see Juan Manuel Marquez fight one or two more fights as a retirement tour versus Collazo, followed by Danny Garcia. I predict Juan Manuel Marquez beating Collazo by decision and losing to Danny by TKO, giving Juan Manuel Marquez the opportunity to publicly retire and further escalating the Mexican-Puerto Rico rivalry, which is big money in boxing. Listen, there's a lot of really good fighters out there that we could be talking about and mixing and matching and this one fighting that. You mentioned Robert Agos Guerrero, Adrian Broner, Marcos Maidana, Keith Thurman. It's funny to hear, no disrespect to Luis Collazo, but it's funny to hear his name all of a sudden being in the mix. I mean, here's a guy that was totally out of the discussion for 2 years, and he has one fight against a guy that many believe is finished. A guy that has lost now 3 in a row, by knockout even, and he beats him, and now he's, in the discussion as again, that's, the propaganda that people are trying to make this guy a worthy opponent, an easy opponent for Mayweather down the road. But my point is with all those names you mentioned, they're all good fights if we were able to mix and match them. The other issue here, if you remove, if we stop talking about Manny and Floyd and the stumbling blocks making that fight, every time you mention a fighter that is with another promoter or with an opposite promoter of the main two, we're going to have these issues. Keith Thurman, wouldn't it be nice to see him fight, like a Sean Porter or something like that, which they could. Listen, unfortunately with the sport today, not only are we worried about, who we're going to fight, but then you got to figure out, oh, wait a minute, is that fighter with Golden Boy or is that fighter with Top Rank? Is that fighter with Showtime or is that fighter with HBO? So a lot of stumbling blocks, unfortunately, in the sport today. So I got some more emails to read. We got the heavyweight spotlight coming up in a little bit, maybe about a half hour or so. Then we have what else we got going on? Then we have I'm going to give you all the fight results from the weekend. We got that. We got Friday and Saturday fights. We got some updates. We got the weights and discussion on the Fox card tonight. Fidel Maldonado Jr. Is the main event. He's not fighting who he originally was gonna because of an injury, but we will break that one down real quick. An update on Tyson Fury. I don't know if this is really true or if he's just trying to be manly. Captain Huck trying to break some cruiserweight records. All of that stuff is coming up in a little bit. I do have a couple of more emails to read, so don't go anywhere. We got the heavyweight spotlight coming up. We are discussing James Curl is doing the heavyweight spotlight with me. We are discussing Mike Weaver, former world heavyweight champ. Don't forget, FYI, some future stuff tomorrow. I got Adam Pollack coming on the show. He's going to talk about his new book on Jack Johnson. We also have Emily Harney on Wednesday. Alex Papali and I will be doing a blast from the past on a fighter I'm sure you never heard of. His name is Spider Pladner, former world champion in the flyweight division. We'll talk about that. Thursday, my man Larry Hazard and Dax Khan will be giving us his boxing schedule roundup. And then don't forget, on Friday, I'll be breaking down the fights that are on the Billy C Challenge. And if you're interested in the challenge, then just drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com, and I'll give you all the info on that. In the meantime, I got to take a break. I'll be back in 2.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretch of that man, I would think.
Palla tagliata, messa fuori, c'è Pirlo.
You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From upstate New York and the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell them Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C, the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. My fellow Americans, good evening. Welcome back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It's great to be here discussing the sweet science with everybody. I love boxing. I love talking boxing. It's what I do.
Bill.
Wait, what?
Bill.
Why are you interrupting me?
We're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. Glad you could join us. If you don't have the Fight Now sports channel on your sports channel lineup, whether you have satellite or cable TV, then you need to call them and tell them that you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup. It's that simple. And listen, if they tell you that it's not available on your provider's list, then that's when you say you want to formally request the channel. All the information about the Fight Now channel can be found on their website, www.fightnow.com. Got a couple of more emails here. Don't forget, February 28th, Mayweather Promotions is coming to Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York. Get yourself some tickets, man. Now, we're going to have a fight poster up on BillyCBoxing.com. Hopefully, in a couple of days, they told me they'll have it to me. And then make life real easy for you. All you got to do is click it. But in the meantime, if you want to get yourself some good seats now or even make some arrangements to spend the weekend there, it's going to be a decent show. J. Leon Love and Mickey Bay are going to be the two showcased fighters. It will be broadcast on Showtime. And you can get tickets right now by visiting the Turning Stone box office. The best way to get there is www.turningstone.com. And don't forget to tell them Billy C sent you. Hawk Mustang says, I say Triple G is pound for pound the best boxer today. Hawk, man, I mean, how can we honestly say that about Triple G when he really hasn't had that big signature fight yet? I mean, you know, he's been just blowing through his opponents, and I like the guy. I think he's exciting and everything else, but I can't say I'm shocked. I can't say he's the best pound for pound out there. I want him to be, and I think he will be eventually. But right now, anyway, since all this, Hawk says, since all of this pound for pound stuff is just based on opinion, and most boxing fans are just dummies anyway, and they just parrot other dummies in the media. And he mentioned somebody. I'm not going to mention anybody's name because, you know, most of them are dummies. He says, I will break my logic down for you. Floyd ducked a little Asian midget after he said he would beat him easier than he did Juan Manuel Marquez. Floyd fights Oscar De La Hoya and Cotto at 154, and he brags that he wants to fight everyone at their best weight, and he doesn't want them to be drained. However, Mayweather then forces the overhyped Canelo Alvarez to fight drained at a catchweight if he wants to get paid, thus further proving that Floyd is a fraud, a liar, and a hypocrite. So now Triple G offers to weight train himself to go down to 154 to fight in a division where Floyd was held a cherry-pick belt twice, and Mayweather has ducked this challenge because he wants to fight a glass-jawed Amir Khan. Triple G would smash Floyd Mayweather, Maidana, Khan, Robert Agos Guerrero, Canelo, etc., etc. And there is no way that Triple G would duck Manny for 7 years. Maybe I haven't proved that Triple G deserves to be ranked number one pound for pound, but I have proved that Mayweather does not deserve this mythological, this mythical, all right? That's what you want, mythical ranking. First of all, I'm never going to blame Mayweather for the catchweight. Yes, I blame him for being hypocritical about how he doesn't believe in catchweights, and then he forced Canelo to have one. But he doesn't see many flaws in Triple G. I know for a fact that he won't fight Triple G. He's not man enough. But here's the thing. I agree with what you're saying about Triple G. You make some great points, but Triple G cannot be put at number one pound for pound yet. And he also can't even be complimented on all of his he'll fight anyone from 154 to 175 statement because he's yet to do it. He's yet to do anything. You see, my negative feelings towards Floyd is because he says these things and then doesn't really back them up. It's the same as what my hang-ups were with David Hay, and even going back to Joe Calzaghe, and even further back to Larry Holmes, and even Lennox Lewis. They all talked smack and didn't back it up. You know, they all talked how they didn't get the recognition they deserved, and wah, trail of tears. You know, so I mean, listen, it's easy in this sport. It's real easy to have people give you. The accolades you're looking for, and you're getting all of the respect and everything else. All you got to do is perform. The guys that keep their mouth shut. You know, somebody was saying the other day that they weren't too impressed with Keith Thurman. And I look at this kid as a guy who kind of keeps his mouth shut and does what he's got to do. Same thing with Sean Porter. Not that they're great fighters or anything. I'm not comparing them to Floyd, but I'm just saying, these are guys that will fight anybody in front of them. They're not cherry picking. So, Hawk, I like Triple G. I agree that he's, going to be possibly a pound for pound top fighter someday. But for me personally, it would be hard for me to agree that he's the best pound for pound fighter today. Hawk goes on to say, to be honest, I only give Roy Jones Jr. limited credit for beating Johnny Ruiz. Roy moved up to fight the weakest link at heavyweight. Broner did the same thing. Paulie Malignaggi was the weakest link at 147, and that is who Broner cherry-picked. And once Roy outpointed Ruiz, he was asked if he would fight Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson. He said for $100 million, just like Mayweather once said about fighting Manny. I would rather, yeah, but even that's a lie because he would get that right now, right? He says, I would rather a fighter stay in his weight class and dominate. I don't like it when a fighter moves up to cherry pick a belt versus the weakest link and then runs back down to the lower weight class. I mean, Triple G could go to 168 and beat Bika and snatch the WBC belt, but Bika's not Ward. So how much credit would Triple G get? Very little. If a fighter is going to move up to fight a champion at a higher weight, then move up to fight the real champ and not a paper champ, or don't move up at all. You make a great point, Hawk, but unfortunately, that's not the way boxing works anymore. I would agree with you 100%. Now, I disagree with you about not giving Roy Jones any credit. He moved up. He fought the guy that would fight him, at heavyweight, and John Ruiz. He won that title. It is a major title. It's not like he won, some alphabet belt. He won the WBA belt. So I do give him credit. Now, he knew that he wasn't a heavyweight. He knew that all the heavyweights were bigger, and he moved back down. Something that was also a little piece of history, to become a heavyweight champion of the world and then move back down to light heavyweight and regain it. The last person to do that was Bob Fitzsimmons before Roy Jones. So I disagree with you there. I do give him credit, just like I would give Floyd Mayweather credit if he went and fought anybody, any one of the light heavyweights. If he fought a light heavyweight or even a super middleweight that wasn't great. You mentioned Seiko Bika. If Floyd went up to that kind of a weight and fought a guy like that, you got to give him credit. You're not just, you can't just say, well, he's got to pick the top one. I don't know if I agree with that. Sugar Ray Leonard, we were talking about that when we did the blast on Sugar Ray. He did when he moved and he got the super middleweight and light heavyweight titles, and it was kind of a flaky situation. So, that is a situation that was created by the television networks and the sanctioning bodies and the promoters for allowing these belts to be, basically marketed as the belt. So, and to be honest with you, if Triple G beat Seiko Bika, and he had that belt, he would be in line for, other fights, the Kovalev fight or maybe even a B-Hop fight, So, I think Triple G, first of all, I would give Floyd credit for going to fight anybody, not any of the titleists at middleweight or super middleweight. But as far as Triple G, I would also give him credit for beating Bika as long as he didn't go back down. And quite honestly, as far as moving up and down in weight, I believe in the old rule. I think that fighters should be allowed to maintain their weight that they wish to fight in. If they feel comfortable fighting at 150, then fine. They should be allowed to fight middleweights and light heavyweights and heavyweights if they want. That's their prerogative. If they want to go and challenge somebody for a heavyweight title and they only weigh 165 pounds, they should be allowed to do it if they want. If they're challenging somebody else's belt, they can do that, I think. Unfortunately, most of the commissions don't let anywhere from 5 to 7 pound weight swing based on the contract. So it has nothing to do with the weight classes. So, and finally, Hawk says, "And what's up with your lousy?" What's up with your lousy phone service, Billy C? I have never seen this many busted, broken drop calls from one man ever. The Telegraph in 1798 was more consistent than your garbage phone service for the last few years. Remember that commercial where they kept saying, "Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?" They should put you in that ad and you could say, "No, I can't hear shit. I'm getting about ready to come down there and whoop somebody's ass." You're right, man. I can't deny that, Hawk. It's a combination of things. We had actually what we have a phone system that's able to dial stuff automatically. We put it in the queue, and that gets controlled by a computer. Now the computer takes. Here I am explaining our technology. Our computer takes that phone feed from a telephone line, and the telephone service that's tied up to make it all work in this studio is the phone service that's offered through the Time Warner cable, which sucks. That's the problem, So anyway, thanks for the emails. I appreciate it. Jesse says Gamboa when he started, so I don't have an issue with that. Now, as far as fighting Gary Russell Jr., I would like that fight. Listen, Gary Russell has to do something. I happen to be a big fan of Gary Russell Jr. Everybody says, how fast his hands are and all of this, but you know what? He has not stepped up his level of opposition. He's already moving up in the ranks. One of the biggest things that irks the hell out of me in the sport of boxing today is how fighters can be moved up in the ranks without fighting any substantial opposition. It's just a matter of money, man. So anyway, yeah, I would like to fight, and I don't have anything against the fight. He also says, hey, Billy C., this question was for you. Whatever happened to Sean Estrada? I thought he had the skills to be a champion. Yeah, he seemed to have dropped off the face of the earth. He did have that one loss on ESPN, and I haven't seen or heard anything from him since. And, I think a lot of Estrada's issues were the fact that he was not disciplined enough. So, anyway, Jesse, thanks for the emails. I appreciate it. Let's see, we got a couple of more here. You guys, I got to admit, the emails, some of them are interesting when we're not talking about who. He says, after reading Ali's first book again, I was thinking of how every promoter is following the same formula. They want to control both sides of the fight and build stars. In doing that over the years, they've created a field of mediocre boxers. Young talent. Oh, I'm sorry. This is from Bajorn. He says, young talented guys who they guide along on focusing on building their popularity rather than their skill. How is Rigondeaux's own promoter ignoring him because of his skill, even after he beat Donaire? They handpick opponents who will make them look good and give them titles prematurely. None of these young fighters have the skill and ring IQ that comes along with fighting tough competition and leaning towards learning through facing different styles, etc. Even the basics like footwork, what Ali used to call dancing. So that's why B-Hop and Juan Manuel Marquez can continue to fight. And Floyd has no competition. For example, I like Mikey Garcia, but he has had cherry-picked fights as well, like the last one fights. When I say cherry-pick, I mean fights by layups. fights at our layups. He says Manny versus Rios, cherry-picked. Canelo, Chavez Jr., etc. had a string of cherry-picked opponents, and the list goes on. 50 Cent said how hard it was to get Gamboa fights because no one wants to take the risk, even though Broner and Garcia called him out publicly. They couldn't make the fight until Mikey got booed to the boring fight he had. He went on to say the UFC has the correct model. They just put the best in versus the best consistently. Boxing promoters try to create champions rather than let the cream rise to the top. But, John, you're 100% correct, and you're not saying anything that any boxing fan that's been around a long time will disagree. None of them are going to disagree with you, and you're not saying anything they don't know. The bottom line is the result of this is the misconception of the undefeated record, the misconception of the value of the title, and, of course, the connection that the promoter has with the television networks to sell the fighter with the unblemished record and the world title. And they don't care if there's a value in the belt or who he's fought. It's what I always say. It's non-boxing people making this decision. They look at a record and they say, oh, he's 30 wins and no losses. He must be good. They have no idea that those 30 wins are against opposition like you explained. A really good example of that is Andre Berto. I happen to like Berto, but he's a perfect example of a fighter that was coddled and was hand fed cupcake after cupcake until he was in a position and his promoter bought him the belt, and then he started getting better and better with the championship belt. That's something that we need more of today. Jesse is always asking me about young fighters, and he has a tendency to pick fighters with 20-0 records or something like that. Well, the danger of those kinds of fighters is once you get to that 20 or 25 win record, now all of a sudden you look good on paper. Your promoter and your manager can make some money from you if they feed you to a champion that's got more experience than you. And by the way, you're winning all these fights, these 20, 25 fights against cupcakes, and you're starting to feel pretty good about yourself too, not realizing that you haven't really fought the best. Another thing that's kind of funny is years ago when a fighter was learning, fighters wouldn't get a chance to fight for a world title until they had 60, 70 fights under their belt. When they wanted to learn how to fight a southpaw, they would fight 10 or 15, maybe 20 southpaws, different style southpaws. A southpaw boxer, a southpaw banger, a southpaw that, is slow starter and finishes strong, or the opposite. You have to, a short southpaw, a tall southpaw, a southpaw with good footwork. There's different styles. Today, a fighter says, oh, we need to learn how to fight a southpaw, so they find the easiest southpaw they can find. They stick them in the ring with their fighter, and then poof, oh, we know how to fight southpaws. Let's move on. Now we need to fight a tall guy, and that's the unfortunate thing. And that's why a lot of these fighters, it's easy for us old guys to say, oh, the fighters of today aren't as good. Well, it's a shame because they have the benefit of technology and dieting and training techniques that the fighters of yesteryear did not have. But what they also have today is they have the coddling and they have the cherry picking and they have if they're not ranked in one sanctioning body, well then enough money can get them ranked in another. And when there was only one world champion, you had 10 world ranked fighters. Before you became a champion. If you got to number 10, you were a pretty damn good fighter. Now, number 10 ranking, most young boxing fans, if I said to you Joe Schmo is ranked at number 10, a young boxing fan might say, oh, so what? So what? Number 10? Well, that's not very good. Talk to me when he's ranked at number 1. But back in the day, number 10 was a badass fighter. But Jordan says, on the Floyd issue, Billy, at least last year we have to be objective. Robert Agos Guerrero was supposed to rough up Floyd, and he says real boxing fans, wanted to see that fight. Canelo was a fight the world wanted to see. So in 2013, we can't really down Floyd. He fought the fights we wanted to see. I'm not talking about his entire career, just 2013. I don't think he's as great as his fans think. he is, but he isn't as bad as his haters think. We can say a lot about the guy, but we do have to say he had a decent 2013. I agree. I think you put it well, and I can't really deny that. I mean, whether like now, like that whole shenanigans about the I'm going to let the fans pick. Come on, man. Come on. For a guy that, like Amir Khan, you're telling me that I got my 1.4 million fans that follow me on Twitter to vote and make me beat Maydana. Well, too bad there was only 35,000 total votes, so, yeah, but you're right, Bjorn. No argument here. Another email, this one's from Carlo. Carlo says, I heard an email from one of Floyd's fans saying, if Manny leaves Bob Arum, then Floyd will grant your wish. Remind these fools to wake up, please. That excuse should rank as one of the dumbest excuses of all time. I'll say it again. If he hates Arum so much, then beat his cash cow Pacquiao. Simple as that. And get the biggest paycheck in boxing. I think it should be a draw. But on the records, show a knockout, unless I'm misunderstanding what Larry said. It sounded like he meant each fighter would take a loss, but I didn't think that that's right if they both get KO'd. Share your thoughts on that. I think what Larry said, and we can confirm, but Larry said no. On the Fight Facts and on the Box Rec, it will show that the fighter was knocked out. And like he also said, that they both get suspended and everything else as normal protocol. As far as the record, he said that it was ruled as a draw, which makes sense. You can't have them both have a loss because they both didn't lose. No one won and no one lost. So when no one wins and no one loses, that's a draw, in my opinion. You can't say it's a no contest. So in a sense, they both get credit for getting a knockout, and they both get the discredit, I guess, for being knocked out. And then as far as the fight result, I would think it would be a draw, like Larry said. But I will ask him again on your behalf. He says, also, what do you think of Bartholomew versus Mikey Garcia? I feel that's a toss-up fight. Although Mikey's a good fighter, Bartholomew is a decent boxer with power to match. I like the matchup. I think it would be good. I think Bartholomew is going to be really taking out his frustration on Angitas Mendez. He says, what do you think of Danny Garcia versus Peterson for a unification fight? After Danny knocked out Herrera, after Danny KOs Herrera, I hope that fight's next. I think Danny takes it, but Peterson is a tough out. It'd be crazy if Peterson beats Danny. That'll be absolute proof of the boxing triangle theory, since Matisse KO'd Peterson but lost to Danny. Speaking of Danny, I'll leave off with this. Does Maydana Herrera stand any chance, Mauricio Herrera stand any chance at all to win this? And he says, thanks, I look forward to your answer. No. Herrera does not have any chance of winning that. Danny Garcia will win that fight. As far as Danny Garcia fighting Lamont, you dumb it, Peterson. I don't know what happened to Peterson. People really, they were high on him, and then, they sobered up on him real quick. And now he's like labeled as mediocre. And I think he's definitely better than mediocre. Although his last fight, he didn't really perform that great. He just was in a fight that it's like he took his foot off the gas and he coasted to the finish line, But anyway, now listen, coming up here in a second, we got my man James Curl. As a matter of fact, he's on the line. We are going to switch to him in a second to do the heavyweight spotlight. And then following that, we got the fight results from the weekend, Friday and Saturday. We also got an update on Stuart Hall, his next defense. We'll give you the final numbers on the Mayweather Khan poll, which I think was a con, C-O-N, but that's my opinion. Also a Tyson Fury update, and a Marco Captain Huck update, and a signing for Bobby Hits Boxing. We'll talk to you all about that. And all I can say is this. for everybody that, whether you're a Floyd fan or whether you're not a Floyd fan, if you're not happy with the Amir Khan fight, now I know all of the Floyd fans are going to come out and say how great of a fight it is now that it's been chosen. And we will get that announcement, by the way, by the end of the week. But all I could say is this. Do yourself a favor. Be real. It's not going to be a competitive fight. Don't buy it. If you don't like it, don't buy it. It's that simple. You got the power to veto it. Just don't buy it, no matter what. Don't buy it.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com and place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Hit Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh?
What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing Studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. He's Billy C, and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Every week, 2 hours of the best boxing talk on the radio.
I have a bunch of questions, Donnell, right? If you feel like you want to, you can answer for JD first. Why will you win? JD Chapman, why will you win?
Baby Holmes will get sick and get hit by a train that day on the way to the fight, or he might have diarrhea, he might have the flu, he might throw up. One of his eyeballs might fall out that day, and I might get lucky.
Talking Boxing
with Billy C.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C. first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. Glad you could join us. If you don't have Fight Now in your sports channel lineup, you need to call your local television provider, whether it's satellite dish or cable, and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. It's that simple, man. That's all you got to do. Pick up the phone and call. Only information about the channel can be found on their website, www.fightnow.com. And speaking of now, we're ready to do our heavyweight spotlight, and this week's heavyweight spotlight is on former world heavyweight champion Mike Weaver, and joining us to tell us all about Mike Weaver is my man James Curl. What's up, Jim?
Hey, how you doing, Billy?
Not too bad, brother, not too bad. So Mike Weaver, former world heavyweight champion. I know we're going to be doing a lot of great heavyweights for our segment here. but we kind of wanted to jump around. We don't want to go too far back all the time. So we picked Mike Weaver this time, which it was a really good pick. This guy is already kind of forgotten, and it really bothers me considering his last fight was only 14 years ago. Tell us about Mike Weaver.
Yeah, he is forgotten, and it's a shame because he was a pretty darn good fighter. And yeah, you're right. He fought about 14 years ago. His last fight was against Larry Holmes, and he was 49 years old when he took on Holmes, and Holmes was 51. But Holmes knocked him out, and he ended his career at that point. He was born on June 13th, 1951 in Gatesville, Texas. And interestingly, I didn't know this, he is the oldest brother of 3 triplets, and they called them the Fighting Weaver triplets, Floyd, Lloyd, and Troy. I thought that was just an interesting fact.
It must have been a battle to get the mashed potatoes at the dinner table,
I'm telling you, I could imagine growing up in that household with 4 kids, 4 young boys that are fighters. Oh my God.
Well, do you know what got him into the sport besides fighting for food at home?
When he joined the Marines. He was in the Marines from 68 to 71, and he went to Vietnam, and he got into boxing when he was in the military. And when he got out, he continued fighting, and early on he became a sparring partner for Muhammad Ali and Ken Norton, and it was Ken Norton who famously nicknamed him Hercules because of his massive upper body build.
So his only amateur background was what he had in the military, and I had heard that basically he had an argument with somebody in the Marines and ended up punching him out, and they came to him and said, "Hey, you should consider joining the boxing team." Is that pretty much true?
That's right. That's exactly how it happened.
It's amazing, some people brag about their long, extended amateur career and everything else, and this guy probably just wanted his boots shined a little more,
Yeah, it's the typical old school story with how these guys get in. They don't have a lot of amateur fights, and they jump right into the punch for pay ranks. And he didn't start off too good, and his first 12 fights, he was 6-6, and he had lost his first 2 fights. So early on in his career, he was really viewed as nothing more than just a journeyman.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because he lost his first 2 fights. He lost 3 of his first 4. Here's a guy that really didn't have an extended amateur career, but this wasn't so odd way back. And as we get into the heavyweight spotlight more in the future, when we talk about fighters from longer years gone by further than Mike Weaver, we're going to see that it's not that uncommon to lose a couple of fights in the beginning as you're learning. And it shouldn't be held against you like it is today. Thank God for Mike Weaver, it wasn't held against him.
No, it wasn't. And you're right. It was part of the learning process back in those days. Guys took their losses, and they learned and they got better. And the funny thing happened is Mike Weaver did get better. And by the late 70s, he showed a lot of improvement, and he reeled off 5 straight wins, and a couple of those over some top-rated contenders, and that eventually earned him his shot at Larry Holmes.
Yeah, well, he got his shot.
Competitive than people thought he would be.
He got his shot at Larry Holmes the first time was it in 1979? Was that the first time he fought him?
78 is when he took on Holmes for the first time.
Oh, 1978. How many times did he fight Holmes? 3 times?
Twice. Actually, it may have been 1970.
Yeah, it was June 22nd, 1979. When he fought Larry Holmes and was stopped in the 12th round, right?
Yeah, he was. And you know what? He was so lowly regarded that the TV networks, none of them wanted to take the fight, and it was HBO, a new network that was just coming out, that decided to air the fight. And Weaver put up a much better battle than everybody thought he would, but he was eventually knocked out by Holmes.
Yeah, but because of that performance that you mentioned, he got another quick win in September of '79 against Harry Terrell. But then he fought Scott Ledoux for a regional title, the USBA heavyweight belt, and that got him right back in the mix for really when he got his shot at the world title against Big John Tate. I mean, that was a fight that sticks out in my mind. Tell us about that one.
Oh, that was a good fight right there. I was watching that fight, and yeah, Big John Tate. He outweighed Yeah, weighed him by 25 pounds and was about 4 inches taller. Big John Tate was about 6'4", 6'5". And it really impressed me because Weaver he came back in that fight, and he showed a lot of heart, and just through sheer determination, he came back and took John Tate out with only, 20 seconds left in the 15th round, 40 seconds left, something like that. He took him out with a big left hook. And John Tate was unconscious for over a minute on the floor.
You know, fights like that and comebacks like that, and for all intent purposes, Mike Weaver was not going to win that fight unless he did exactly what he did. And the thing is that those 15-round fights, you know, some people think it's saving fighters today, but it's also preventing fighters from having dramatic come-from-behind victories just like Mike Weaver did.
Exactly. I agree. I think they should go back to the 15-round fights. You know, statistics don't prove that those fights are doing anything to protect the fighters at all.
You know, after the John Tate, he kind of people started to respect Mike Weaver, and he had another big fight against Jerry Coetzee for a WBA World Heavyweight title defense, and he did pretty well in that fight as well, knocking out Coetzee in the 13th round. But then he fought James Quick Tillis, and there was some stuff surrounding that fight. Wasn't there like a little discrepancies of why and how Quick Tillis got that shot?
You know, I didn't find a lot of information on that, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
And I watched some of the fight on YouTube, but that's about as much as I got off that fight.
Yeah, but what I had heard happen was that he was supposed to fight Jerry Cooney, and then he was going to fight Jerry Cooney. Yeah, and then the WBA kind of threw at Mike Weaver that, you know, he had to fight James Quick Tillis instead, and obviously a fight with Jerry Cooney would have made him a lot more money. And ultimately, he fought and beat James Quick Tillis, which set him up for another title defense against Michael Dokes. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was another good fight. Dokes came out, and you know, I didn't realize how fast Michael Dokes was. He had some really fast hands. Well, he jumped all over Weaver in the first round. And you know, just a few months before that, Dooku Kim had been killed by Boom Boom Mancini. So everybody was really keeping an eye on these fighters, and if they got hurt, you know, they wanted to stop the fights instantly. And that's what happened was Dokes jumped all over him and hurt him and knocked him down. But when they stopped the fight, you know, Weaver really wasn't that hurt. And you could even see it in his eyes. You know, he was a little shaken up, but he really wasn't that hurt. So it caused a huge controversy. It caused a fight after the fight. Everybody in the ring started going at it. And the referee, they interviewed the referee after the fight, and he said, look, you know, he said it had nothing to do with the Dooku Kim fight, but I'm pretty sure everybody knows it did. And he just said that Weaver was hurt. He didn't respond good enough after the knockdown, so he stopped the fight, you know, shortly after. But it had a lot to do with because Dooku Kim being killed.
You know, it did have controversy, and it set up an immediate rematch 6 months later. And the outcome of the second fight was a little controversial. It turned out to be a draw. Tell us about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that turned out to be a draw. And, you know, I didn't find a lot of information on that one either. I read a little bit about it and watched some of it. But, you know, again, I didn't find a ton of information on that.
Did you watch the fight? Did you watch the draw?
Yeah, I watched part of that fight, too.
And what did you think? Did you think that that Weaver came out? Because a lot of the argument about that fight was that many people thought that Weaver convincingly won.
Yeah, I felt that Weaver was winning. I did.
You know, and ultimately Michael Dokes went on to lose his belt to Evander Holyfield, I believe, right?
Yep, and you know, he had somewhat of a tragic life.
Yeah, well, he also got involved with some other things that ruined it. He was, like you said, we'll talk about Michael Dokes in the future, but that was a lot of talent in that guy that he wasted. But Mike Weaver had talent too. Now, before we talk about actually the end of his career here, because pretty much after that second Michael Dokes fight, he did get another shot at a world title, came up short. But how would you describe his style for someone that never saw Mike Weaver fight? I know he's got the nickname Hercules. He was always in great shape. He looked the part. He did have knockout power. But how would you describe him as a fighter?
He was a pretty good boxer puncher, you know, and aggressive and strong, and he had a decent punch. And I think I'd like to maybe go back to the George or the first Jerry Coetzee fight and describe him a little bit that way. The guy had a lot of heart. When he fought Jerry Coetzee in the 8th round, he took a beating, and he came back and he knocked Coetzee out in the 13th round. And I think the best way to describe him is a guy with a lot of heart and a lot of determination. And he really impressed me. He really impressed me with that victory over Jerry Coetzee after taking such a beating. And it was just he really impressed me, you know. And he bombed him out with a big right hand. It was just and Coetzee had never been stopped, never been knocked out as a pro or an amateur. You know, the guy was just a lot better fighter than people, I think, give him credit for nowadays.
Yeah, Coach C, you're right. I agree with you on that. You know, Mike Weaver, you mentioned something about him that I constantly say is missing today, and that's heart. And Mike Weaver clearly had a lot of heart, and I'm not suggesting that fighters today...
When he had that belt, he was going to do anything in that ring to keep that title. You know, and I just don't see that as much nowadays because it's so easy to get a belt. It's so easy to get a title. You know, they're a dime a dozen. But when you got one back in those days, even though back in his time, it was starting to, the heavyweight title was starting to get fragmented. You know, you had the WBA and the WBC. You know, it was starting to get like that. It wasn't as bad as it is now. But when those guys won a title, they really fought to keep it. You know. Yeah.
He fought after the Michael Dokes, the second Michael Dokes fight. He put together a couple of wins, got another world title shot, this time for the WBC world title, and was stopped by Pinklin Thomas. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, I watched that one too. He was stopped by Pinklin Thomas. This was he got knocked out in the 8th round, and this was his last shot of the title fight. And you know, Pinklin Thomas was a pretty good fighter too. There's another guy who's been completely forgotten. You know, his big thing is everybody knows that Mike Tyson knocked him out. You know, but he was a darn good fighter.
And he had Angelo Dundee as his...
He sure did.
Yeah. Now follow...
Indeed. And you know, another interesting thing I found about Mike Weaver is he fought a young Razor Ruddock.
Yeah, I was just going to say... What I was just going to say is, you know, the guy had fought consistently... really all the way up until the end of 1996, and through that time, after he lost his shot at the WBC belt against Pinky Thomas, he fought Carl the Truth Williams and stopped him in 2 rounds, which is a huge win, and he was right back in the mix again. But then he fought 2 guys back-to-back, James Bone Crusher Smith, and then, like you mentioned, Donovan Razor Ruddock. Tell us about those 2 back-to-back losses.
Yeah, he had those 2 back-to-back losses. He fought Donovan Razor Ruddock, and another interesting thing I found is he fought a very young Lennox Lewis also shortly. And
came back in August of 1998 and fought Melvin Foster. Now, Melvin Foster was a hot commodity at the time. And stopped Mike Weaver, and once again he walked away from it. Did you, aside from the lucrative money deal that he obviously made with Larry Holmes, was there any other reason why he got back into the ring 2 years after that?
No, that's pretty much. He wanted to make some money. He needed to make some money, and when he retired, you know, he got into the Postal Service, and that's you know the same reason that they all do it. They're using their name, and you know he's just way too long in the tooth at that point. And you know he can make a nice chunk of change off his name.
Yeah, well, you know, 49 years old was too much. Now, when he fought, you know, he's 6'1", 78-inch reach. And my question now is, you know, if Mike Weaver was active today in his prime, you know, the same Mike Weaver that was the WBA world champion and had those successful title defenses, how would he fare with today's heavyweights?
Well, I think he would fare, if you took the Mike Weaver of his time, I think he would fare okay. If you took Mike Weaver and had him fight nowadays, and he came up now, he probably wouldn't fare as good because of the different training techniques and just a different way of thinking, I think. So
what about the size?
Too bad.
I mean, a guy like Mike Weaver at 6'1", he was a solid guy. I mean, you know, he was a big, muscular, in-shape guy. Now, you know, you put him in the ring today, and, you know, if he's lucky, he's going to face a 6'3", 6'4" guy. Did he have problems with bigger guys?
Yeah, he's going to have some problems. There's going to be problems with the physical aspect, but the one thing with these guys is the speed. I mean, they were big men, but they also had a lot of speed. I mean, you look at guys like Weaver, and you look at guys like Dokes. Look at how fast those guys were. I think that gives some of these big guys a lot of trouble. And just the different style of fighting, you know, like we've talked before, when you get even farther back with guys like Dempsey and Sharkey, just all the bobbing and weaving that nobody does nowadays. I think that gives the big guys a bit of a problem. But on the same side, you know, the big guys have the longer reach and, you know, the physical aspect of it.
I agree with you 100%. There's no more head movement. There's no more upper body movement. People don't, you know, it's like they forgot about the old drill with the rope diagonal in the ring. You know, I mean, that's what, you know.
Right.
And Mike Weaver, you make a good point, because Mike Weaver did display good head movement. He did bob and weave to a degree when he came in, and that's what made him successful in his early career. I had a chance to interview Mike Weaver not too long ago, and you know, he's kind of getting back into the scene a little bit. At least, you know, I know he attended the International Boxing Hall of Fame last year, and I know he enjoyed the interview, and it seems like he's enjoying reminiscing about his career, something he didn't get the chance to do for a long time, and I think it's good that he's back in the mix and he's enjoying it. My big hang-up is, like you said earlier, it's a shame that a guy that's only removed from, you know, his last fight 14 years or so is virtually forgotten by today's young fans.
Yeah, they are. And, you know, it's sad because guys like Mike Weaver and guys like Dokes and guys like Pinkelman Thomas, you know, they came between the fall of Muhammad Ali and the rise of Mike Tyson, you know, and they had Larry Holmes, who was dominating, the dominant heavyweight. So they kind of got overshadowed by these guys, and it's sad because they're really good fighters, darn good fighters. But they just, you know, they came right between those other big names.
And you know, the other thing is you're cementing the argument that everyone has against me, because I always kind of thought Larry Holmes was a little overrated, but the more I look into the level of opposition he faced, guys like Mike Weaver, you know, guys like Carl the Truth Williams and Pinkelman Thomas, et cetera, you know, and beat them all, Ernie Shavers. You know, I guess you got to give him credit, just like you got to give Mike Weaver credit.
Yeah, I think so. And I just got done reading the Ernie Shaver biography, and Ernie Shaver said Larry Holmes was easily one of the most underrated heavyweight champions of all time.
Yeah,
you know,
well,
I'm not saying he's the greatest, but I'm saying he is a bit underrated.
No, I know. Well, I mean, I think it's his mouth. I think, you know, I really think that these fighters that really shoot off their mouth eventually hurts them in the all-time books later on. But we'll have to see, because there's a lot of trash talkers out there now, and it obviously didn't hurt Muhammad Ali. But any final thoughts on Mike Weaver?
No, I think the last thing is if anybody's interested, you know, you get on YouTube and watch how good this guy was, and he just displayed an incredible heart and desire and will to win. And I think the mark of a true champion is if you can come back when you're hurt, when you're cut, when you're knocked down, and when you can come back and knock a guy out that's kicking your butt from ring post to ring post. I think that's the mark of a great champion, a true champion. And Mike Weaver displayed that on more than one occasion.
I think you're 100% right. It's always been an argument that I have with today's fighters that seem to be judged by their career record, and people say, oh yeah, they have heart, oh yeah, they have this, they have that, but they've never had a chance to display it. So it's a lot different saying you have heart than actually displaying it, just like you described, getting your butt kicked from ring post to ring post for 14 and three quarter rounds, and then come back and dramatically knock out your opponent and walk away with the belt. You know, to me, that's showing that you can come back from adversity.
Yeah, we have a couple of young guys in particular. I won't mention any names that fit that bill of trash talking and have never had to pick themselves up off the floor, never had to overcome a cut, never had to overcome being, severely beaten.
Well, when you put yourself in the ring with guys that just don't have the ability to do that to you, you know.
Yeah, must be nice.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty easy to come out pounding your chest saying you're the best. But anyway, Mike Weaver, former world heavyweight champion. His career record, 41 wins, 28 of them coming by knockout. He did have double-digit losses with 18, but like James had said earlier in his career, he lost a couple learning the ropes. And then after his prime, specifically from the Pinklin Thomas loss on, he accumulated most of those losses. He did have one draw. He fought until he was 49 years old, 6'1", 78-inch reach, and almost 400 rounds as a pro, with a close to 50% knockout ratio. Mike Weaver, our heavyweight spotlight shining on him this week, and great job, James, and I look forward to the next time, my man.
Yes, so do I. Thank you very much.
Well, Jim, until then, we'll talk to you soon, all right?
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, take care. That's Jim Curl doing our heavyweight spotlight. And, hey, we'll let you know who's it's going to be as soon as we know, because we discussed that stuff and all of that happy stuff. Mike Weaver, and like Jim said, if you're interested in learning more about him, visit YouTube. His videos of his fights are up there. Hey, I got to take a break. We'll be right back.
If you want your voice heard on Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., then call our hotline at 845-228-8710. Leave a voicemail, or you could just tell Billy C. that you like his mustache.
Should I ask you your opinion about this idea?
I'm just trying to give you the encouragement.
Listen, all I need from you is to make sure you don't hang up on people.
And if we like your call, we'll play it back on the
Billy,
air.
you have the knowledge and wisdom of boxing because of what you do and how well you do it.
Leave your name, hometown, and what you think of the show. 845-228-8710. We want to hear you.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell him Billy C. sent ya.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, talking boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
Got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C. show. Glad you could join us. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. And if you don't have Fight Now on your sports channel lineup, you need to call your local television provider and tell them that you want Fight Now right now. It's that simple. You're looking for information about the channel, visit their website, www.fightnow.com. Some fight results from the weekend, Saturday night. WBC junior flyweight champ Adrian Hernandez improved to 29-2 with 18 knockouts, retaining his title when he stopped Yanel Rivera in the third round. I couldn't believe that the WBC approved this fight. This talk about putting a fighter in harm's way. You know, in the chat room. But nonetheless, 29-2 now for Adrian Hernandez, and Rivera drops to 10-2 with a couple of draws. Also on that card in the bantamweight division, Julio Ceja stopped Jesus Acosta in their fight to improve to 26-1. Acosta drops to 14-3. In the big upset of the week, pretty much everyone except for two people got this one wrong on the challenge. But super featherweight Carlos Diaz improved to 13-0 with 7 knockouts when he knocked out a former two-time world title challenger Miguel Beltran Jr. In the 6th round. Beltran drops to 28-3. The official time was 59 seconds. The co-main was super bantamweight Raul Morales. He scored an 8th round stoppage over Fernando Vargas, and Morales is now 21-2 with a draw, and Vargas he's 26-8. In the welterweight division, Steve the Dragon Claggett improved to 19-2 with a draw when he scored a 2nd round knockout over Guyalaya Vaha. This was a fight I didn't even put on our challenge because I didn't think it was going to be competitive, and it wasn't. Also, how about Grady Brewer? Now, I got to call a fight with Grady Brewer when his opponent, bit him in the neck. It's up on LDL TV, but he's been known for being a guy that goes the distance and stuff. Well, how about this? How about just getting destroyed in 2 rounds, which is totally unlike him, when Tony Harrison improved to 17-0 with 14 knockouts when he stopped Grady Brewer in the 2nd round. I was shocked to see that. I didn't watch the fight, but I was shocked to hear that one. On Friday night fights, in a junior middleweight fight, a regular fighter. I didn't whip out my scorecard during the fight because I actually just went and recorded the fight and then watched it so I could fast forward through all the crap. I can't stand those guys, a lot of this stuff, so I just fast forward to the opening bell and then the decision, and I don't watch any of the other stuff. But I probably should have scored it, but I thought that it was a close fight, and I don't think anybody should use the word robbery in this fight. It just so happens I was right. I picked Garcia. Also in that card, Kamel Lasak improved to 16-0 with 7 knockouts when he scored an 8-round unanimous decision over Daniel Diaz, who drops to 20-6. Diaz hit the canvas in the 1st round, but it was more of a flash knockdown. I will tell you this: Kamel Lasak is a good young fighter, but he's got a long way to go, man. I predict that they're going to rush this kid. He is not ready for the big time yet. This guy doesn't protect himself. I mean, he looked very, very raw in there as far as I'm concerned. The way the judges scored it was 79-72, 79-71, 78-73. All in his favor based on activity. Also on that card, Erickson Lubin improved to 3-0 with 3 knockouts when he took care of Roberto Avancado, who, he claims Avancado claims he injured his hand, but he just didn't want to take anymore. I mean, he was in some trouble. You can't really criticize the promoter or the matchmaker here. You got a guy that was 2-0 with 2 knockouts going up against a guy that was 13-12. On paper, it looked like it was going to be, a good fight. Unfortunately, it wasn't. In the super welterweight division, Patrick Szymanski improved to 8-0 with 2 knockouts when he scored a TKO over Daniel Hicks, who drops to 5-5, 2 minutes and 10 seconds of the 2nd round to win that one. And on the cruiserweight division, Junior Wright improved to 10-0 with 9 knockouts when he scored a stoppage at 21 seconds of round number 4 against the normally tough and durable Galen Brown, who drops to 40 wins, 26 losses, and a draw. That takes care of the fights. We did have some stuff going on. Now, Fidel Maldonado Jr., which we'll talk about a little later, he was scheduled to fight Steve Forbes, but Forbes failed the medical, and now he's fighting John Nader. So we will talk about that fight, which is taking place tonight. I will break that one down. That's the only fight I'm going to be breaking down. But Errol Spence, who's a 2012 U.S. Olympian, he's going to be taking on Peter Ulick in his fight. I'm waiting for Spence to step it up a little bit as well. Stewie Hall. Stewie. Hey, Stewie. It reminds me of Family Guy. But anyway, Stewie Hall, the IBF World Bantamweight Champion, his record 16 wins, 2 losses, and a draw with 7 knockouts, is making his first world title defense against Martin Ward, who's 18-2. It's taking place March 29th at in Newcastle at the Metro Radio Arena. I wish somebody would bring me over to the UK to do some work on the fights. It seems I've never been there, and it's just it's England is really where boxing kind of started. It definitely started there. At least the sweet science. But anyway, some other news I wanted to talk about. Floyd Mayweather's poll is officially over. First you see these polls popping up all over, and everyone I saw was a blowaway with Maydana winning. But then the one I didn't see, which don't even go to the Mayweather website, apparently was on the Mayweather website. And according to that one, even though every other one was, in favor of Maydana, according to that one, and they're citing the fact that Amir Khan went out and organized his fans, and they came on and won. So it looks like, according to Mayweather's website, 57% of the people that voted on that website chose Amir Khan. 43% chose Maydana. It's just kind of funny how every other poll I saw was in the 80s. 80% was for Maydana. And, anywhere from 20 to 22% was for Amir Khan. I think that we were conned. And I don't mean Amir Khan. I mean conned, as in C-O-N. Listen, Floyd Mayweather just tried to, tantalize a match and mention Maydana and blah blah blah. He never had any even minimal thought of fighting someone like Marcus Maydana, who isn't even, it's not like Marcus Maydana is Mike Tyson. It's just that Floyd is basically. Floyd picks the easiest fights he can find, and that's Amir Khan, a guy who never fought at 147, a guy that's lost 2 of his last 4, a guy that does, people question his ability to even want to fight anymore. Here's a guy that's with a new trainer. Come on. A guy that's not known for any defense, a guy that's known for a glass chin, a guy that's known that comes after you and wails away at you, and he's fighting a guy like Floyd Mayweather, who's known for his counterpunching ability, his defense. So that, offsets the only positive thing you can say about Amir Khan, which is his speed and punching ability. And what do you got left? You got left Floyd's dream of knocking out a real fighter. And he's not even fighting a real fighter as far as a knockout go. He's fighting a junior welterweight. He's not fighting a welterweight. He's not fighting a junior middleweight like the belts that Floyd so-called has. He's fighting a junior welterweight that never fought at welterweight and is already ranked. I mean, talk about everybody setting up Floyd for this fight. Unbelievable. And listen, I know that there's a lot of people. I read a lot of emails. People are outraged and everything else. It's a simple solution, ladies and gentlemen. Don't buy it. Do yourself a favor. If you're sick of seeing these kinds of fights from Floyd Mayweather, don't buy it. Because if you don't, I guarantee you'll see a better fight in September. If you buy this one, get ready for Collazo in September. And Floyd's laughing at you guys all the way to the bank. He's laughing at all these loyal fans that think that Floyd is so great. All the ones that drank the Floyd Mayweather Kool-Aid, he's laughing at you guys because he knows how stupid you are, because he took advantage of you. It's pretty sad, really. It's pretty sad. Anyway, talk about fighters today. You know how you hear about, fighter got a cut, the fighter broke his hand, fighter, got an ingrown toenail. I don't know, and they're back out of fights, right? Well, did you catch this over the weekend? Apparently, Tyson Fury, who basically last week was told that his original opponent was not going to be able to fight, and they had to find a replacement. And they got Joey Abel to accept the fight. Apparently, he cut his eye sparring with Eddie Chambers, which is kind of unbelievable because Eddie Chambers forgot how to throw punches, remember? He stands there and he looks at you and he lets you punch him. But apparently, there's a small cut, and Tyson Fury has posted them on Twitter to show the world. I did not get a chance to see it, but he said, hey, listen, here's the deal. I got a little cut in my eye, but I'm not canceling my fight. And it's a little dig at David Haye, apparently. And his quote, Tyson Fury's quote was, "Look, I got a cut in sparring yesterday. Should I do a haymaker and pull out of my fight? LOL." And he refers to David Haye as, well, the alternate word for cat. It begins with a P, it ends with a Y. It's got a U and an SS in there, which I think is kind of funny. And then Tyson Fury says, "But I'm still fighting." I got news for you. If it was a serious cut, and if he was here in the United States, the commission wouldn't let it happen. You're not allowed to enter the ring with any kind of cuts on. I'll tell you that. But anyway, the fight's this weekend. It will be part of our challenge, and we'll take it from there. Marco Captain Hook is set for May 3rd for his next fight. Now, this May 3rd, they don't have an opponent yet. But here's the thing: if he goes and gets in that ring on May 3rd, which is the plan, he would, and he wins, he would actually tie the record for the most successful title defenses at the cruiserweight level, and he's looking forward to that. And I hope, I wish him well. So we'll see what happens on May 3rd. We'll keep you posted on who his opponent is when they announce that. And speaking of announcements, Bobby Hitz from Hitz Boxing, he does a lot of fights in the Chicago and Indiana areas, primarily at that Horseshoe Casino, whatever. Apparently he signed Ryan the Irish Outlaw Coyne, who's got a record now 21-2 with 9 knockouts. Not sure what to say about that signing. I think Ryan Coyne was a built-up fighter, just like we were talking about earlier. And his 2 losses have been against fighters that can fight. So good luck, Bobby. Tonight we got some fights on Fox 1. Now, you guys know that I'm not a big fan of Golden Boy because I think they think who the hell they are. And I hate that. But I got to give them credit because Golden Boy actually promotes. They go out there, they get sponsors, their fighters are in front of us, and they have a really good deal going on right now with Fox 1 to showcase some of these young fighters. And tonight is a perfect example. Southpaw Fidel Maldonado Jr. Now, he's from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I got the luxury of calling a couple of his fights in New Mexico, and he's a really nice kid. Our very own Austin Colleen will be ringside in Texas for this fight, and we will get a ringside report on this that you can read up on BillyCBoxing.com tomorrow. But originally he was supposed to fight Stevie Forbes, but apparently Steve Forbes failed his meds, and they had to come up with a last-minute substitute, and they certainly did. John Nader has got a record of 13 wins and 4 losses, and that's who he's stepping in the ring with. Now, let me break down this fight for you. John Nader His record, 13 wins, 4 losses. Of those 13 wins, he's got 10 by stoppage. He does have 4 losses, 2 in which he was stopped. Now, he's 5'10", which when I tell you how tall Fidel is, you'll see that Nader has a 2-inch height advantage, and he also has a 4-inch, you heard it right, 4-inch reach advantage. His reach is 76 inches. Now, he's only got 48 rounds as a pro under his belt at 59% knockout ratio, and he's only 23. He's a young fighter, and he's fighting another young fighter, which is pretty cool. But here's the thing. In the junior welterweight division, the computer ranks John Nader at number 547. You say to yourself, why? He's got 20 fights, and Maldonado, he's only got 19 fights. I'm sorry, Nader's got 17 fights. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. But Maldonado's got 19 fights. John Nader, he's got 17 professional fights. Here's the combined record of the 17 opponents that he has fought. Now, keep in mind, he's got 4 losses. 1 loss was against Jeffrey Fontanes, who was he was knocked out against Jeffrey, and Jeffrey was 8-0 at the time. He also fought Juan Carlos Abreu, who was 10-0 at the time, and he got knocked out in 3. He also faced Brendan Bennett, who was 13-0 and got knocked out in, lost a majority 8-round decision. And in his pro debut against another pro debut fighter, Jonathan Garcia, back in 2011, he lost a 4-round unanimous decision. So of those 4 losses, 3 of them were against good fighters. 2 of those 3 he got knocked out by. Now, with that said, he's got a combined of all 17. Now, keeping in mind that you had a 10-0 fighter, a 13-0 fighter, and an 8-0 fighter all beat him. Here's the combined record of all of his opponents. 46 wins, 170 losses, and 8 draws. To say that the 13-4 record may not be what it looks like, it could be an understatement. Could definitely be an understatement there. But anyway, Fidel Maldonado Jr., he's got a record of 17 wins, 2 losses. 17 wins, 14 of them coming by knockout, and 2 losses in which he was stopped once. Now, he's 22 years old. He's from Albuquerque still. He's ranked by the computer at number 25, a guy with 2 fights more than his opponent, and ranked, somewhere between 520 spots higher, is an indication of the level of opposition that Fidel Maldonado has faced. Now, he's 5'8", 72-inch reach, 64 rounds as a pro with a 74% knockout ratio. His 2 losses came back-to-back in 2012. He lost to Fernando Carmino, who was 9-3. He was stopped in 2 rounds. And sometimes you look at those kinds of fights and you say, okay, you throw that one out. And you look at his next loss came 4 months later, and that was against Michael Perez, the artist, and he lost a very close and controversial decision. It was a split decision. He was fighting in California, which was not his hometown. But anyway, what's Louis saying? Louis from L.A. is saying Floyd would say what? And then he says, BC, you never gave me a fair shake like he did to Larry Merchant. Oh, Floyd's going to say that to me? Yeah, well, you know what? I would love to try to punch Floyd in the face. But anyway, Fidel Maldonado, here's his deal. 5'8", 72-inch reach, 64 rounds as a pro with a 74% knockout ratio. Now, since that loss I told you about against Michael Perez in 2012, he has fought 4 fights and won all 4 against pretty tough opposition. Of those 4, 3 came by knockout, and really the one that didn't come by knockout was the weakest opponent that he faced at 4-13. Jorge Romero, 24-4. He knocked him out in 3. Abraham Osuna, 16-3. Knocked him out in 1. And in his last fight, which was the biggest fight of his career, Luis Ramos Jr., he knocked out in 7. Ramos Jr. was 23-1. Here's the only thing that bothers me about Maldonado. In 2009, he turned pro in December. He only fought once. Then in 2010, he fought 6 times. Then the next year, in 2011, he fought 5 times. In 2012, guess how many times he fought? 4 times. In 2013, guess how many times he fought? You guessed it, 3 times. So here's the trend. As his career is moving on, he's fighting less and less. Does this mean he's only going to fight twice this year? I hope not. Fidel Maldonado Jr. is a really good prospect, and he's on his way up. He's starting to get ranked and all of that stuff. Here's what you got to do with this kind of a kid. Tonight is not his fault that he's in with a weaker opponent. You got to keep an eye on him, and they got to progressively increase the level of his opposition. What I don't want to see is Fidel Maldonado go from this fight tonight and then all of a sudden get catapulted into a junior welterweight fight with a top-notch fighter, and then have people say, "Oh, see, his record isn't what it's supposed to be." And I hate when fighters do that. Like what they did with Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez, which was a work in progress. After Floyd beat him, everyone said, he was overrated. Well, it's not fair to say that. But anyway, what does it all mean to me? As far as tonight's fight goes, Fidel Maldonado Jr. is going to look good, and I think that it's going to be a decent fight for as long as it lasts. But make sure you realize that the winner of the fight is going to be Fidel Maldonado. So, just a reminder, what's coming up later in the week. Tomorrow, I'm excited to have Adam Pollock join us. Adam is doing a really cool thing. We'll talk about it tomorrow, but he's chronicling the linear world heavyweight title, beginning with John L. Sullivan. So he wrote a book about Sullivan and Tommy Burns, et cetera, and he's up to Jack Johnson. And he just put out a part 1, which is the beginning of Jack Johnson's career. I enjoyed every minute of it. It's like 700 pages, and we'll talk to him about that book tomorrow. So he's going to be joining us tomorrow. Emily Harney, she'll be with us tomorrow like she usually is. Wednesday, Alex Papali and I will be presenting a fighter that I'll be shocked if you know who he is. Maybe Henry Haskup will know who he is. But Spider Pladner is the guy. Spider Pladner. If you know anything about this guy, you're pretty knowledgeable, because there's hardly anything about this guy. Like I said, out of everybody that's watching or listening to the show right now, I would think that my man Henry Haskup has heard of Spider Pladner. Because certainly Alex and myself are going to be learning too, and we'll be teaching you guys about this former world champion on Wednesday. On Thursday, my main man Larry Hazard will join us, and Dax Khan with his normal boxing schedule roundup. And then Friday, I'm scheduled to break down the fights that will be on the Billy C Challenge, and we are going to have a bunch of them this week. So if you want to get involved with that challenge, now's the time. Email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com.
Wake up. It's time for the...
It's too early for a trivia question.
Alrighty then. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is being brought to us by The Gentleman Boxer. It's a great read. Get yourself a copy. We're going to be talking about a fighter from the 20s that was actually in a lower weight class than this book talks about. The Gentleman Boxer focuses on the bantamweight, specifically Joe Grimm, and some other great ones of the roaring 1920s. Get yourself a copy of this book where all good books are sold. You can get The Gentleman Boxer at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, or even the author's own website, www.iangrumeza. That's IONGRUMEZA.com. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is also being brought to us in part by the Titty Grab game. It's an adult break the ice game. And yeah, it comes with a titty. You're looking for information about this game? Check out their website, www.tittygrab.com. You can learn how to play it. You can see what comes with it, and you can even see them playing it. And I got my copy of that. We had some fun with not too long ago. So tittygrab.com for that. Now, today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question, which is supplied to us by our very own trivia question guru, Henry Hascup. Actually, Friday's question was, when was the last fight that went more than 15 rounds? Well, we had a couple of guys that got it right. My man, Coach, who tries all the time, he definitely got it right, but unfortunately, he was not the first. My man, Stephen White, who wanted me to know that he just got turned on to our show, watching through the Fight Now television channel on Google Fiber. This Stephen is from Kansas, so I want to welcome all the Google Fiber viewers that are checking out the show. But Stephen knew that the answer was Bobby Ruffin knocked out Bobby McIntyre in the 17th round of a scheduled 20-round fight on March 17th, 1943. It was in a lightweight division. The fight took place in New Orleans. Now, FYI, there have been 4 scheduled 20-round fights, but the longest, aside from this one, only went 15 rounds. So congratulations to Steve on that one. Now, today's new question is one that I have to throw in this. The question is prior to 1980, okay? Prior to 1980, which former world champion had the lowest lifetime win-loss percentage? Now, we recycled this one. I had asked this question once before. So the question is, prior to 1980, which former world champion had the lowest lifetime win-loss winning percentage? If you know this answer and you're the first one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win the prize. So good luck to everyone on that one.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being brought to us by LDL TV and our special broadcasts that are taking place during the International Boxing Hall of Fame induction weekend. Email john@ldltv.com for all the information about that, plus all of our other stuff that we're doing over the next few weeks. And also today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is being brought to us by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino and their next boxing event, which is February 28th. Floyd Mayweather Promotions will be putting on that show. Get yourself some tickets right now by visiting www.turningstone.com. On this day, February 10th in 1922, Benny Leonard wins a 15-round decision over Rocky, Kansas, to retain his world lightweight title, and that took place at Madison Square Garden in New York City. On this day, February 10th in 1917, Mike Gibbons wins a newspaper decision over Harry Greb in their 6-round fight in Philly. Gibbons improves to 44 wins, 1 loss, and 4 draws, and Greb, he drops to 12 wins and 3 losses. That's how early in his career it was. On this day in 1894, young Griffo and George Kid Levine fight to a 8-round draw in their fight in Chicago. On this day in 1919, Boxing Hall of Famer Mickey Walker wins a 4-round decision over Dominic Orsini in his pro debut in New Jersey. He would go on to a 131-win, 26-loss, and 5-draw career, and he was inducted in the Hall of Fame in 1990. And finally, on this day, February 10th in 1908, Tommy Burns knocks out Jack Palmer in the 4th round to retain his world heavyweight title, and that took place in London. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. I got one more thing to say. Make sure you tune in tomorrow evening, same bat time, same bat channel, the Fight Now channel. Call your local television provider and tell them you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup. It's that simple. Pick up the phone and call. All the information can be found at the website, www.fightnow.com. See you tomorrow. Ciao, baby.